Yeah, thank you, Karen. Real quick, I wanted to introduce myself and give a little background on today's webinar. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aaron Patrick. I'm with the Ohio Department of Development. First thing I want to say is thank you for taking the time today to join this presentation. My role with the state is I administer the Ohio MEP program for the state of Ohio. And if you're not familiar with what MEP stands for, that is the Manufacturing Extension Partnership. So what is the MEP? The MEP is a public-private partnership designed to support the nation's manufacturing sector. We support the sector in a number of ways through continuous improvement activities, technology adoption, workforce-related opportunities, and what you're going to hear today, supply chain-related activities. In mid 2022, the Federal Department of Commerce, which is where our federal funder is located, had earmarked some funds to the MEP program. So the MEP is a national network. Every state plus Puerto Rico has this presence. But they had earmarked funds for the MEP program to support small and medium-sized manufacturers with supply chain related challenges. Each state was kind of open to do with the funding what they felt was best for their manufacturers. But in Ohio, with the funding that we received, we began to work with an organization called Sustainment, and that's who you're going to hear from today. And really, the idea was to create a statewide manufacturing community where companies can promote themselves and their capabilities along with finding new and exciting opportunities. We've all heard the term reshoring. It's a buzz term across manufacturing and across really the nation right now. So by creating this platform for Ohio's manufacturers, the ultimate goal was to allow for reshoring opportunities for manufacturers in the state of Ohio. So you're going to hear about this platform today. You're going to hear directly from Sustainment, and I think it's a valuable option for you. So again, we appreciate you joining us. I will include my email address if you want any more information related to the MEP, or you want me to connect you to one of your regional resources. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. But with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chris and Will from Sustainment, and they will take it away from here. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. Aaron, thanks so much. I'm Chris McCole. Will Binder from our sales team's going to be presenting as well. I'm the director of operations at Sustainment, and I just really appreciate you guys being here. I want to thank our amazing partners at the Ohio MEP for setting this up and getting us in front of some incredible manufacturers in Ohio. Also, would be remiss not to call out, since the last time I've talked to the Ohio MEP, obviously OSU, big national champions, very exciting for the entire state. So congratulations to all you guys. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our history, so we can kind of establish, where we are coming from, where we're at now, and where we're going. So we were founded in 2019 by two Army veterans who really saw that the defense industrial base had shrunk by 30% over the last 30 years and wanted to use technology to fix that. So our first two customers were the U.S. Air Force and the Defense Logistics Agency, and they continue to be customers. And personally, as a West Point graduate, and I fought in Afghanistan, that this mission is personally very important to me, as I'm sure it is for many of you guys on this call. Post-COVID, when supply chains were all the rage, everybody was looking into where their stuff was actually coming from for the first time in decades. We realized that there was really a need for our commercial product. So we rolled that out in 2021, and it's been incredible to see that growth. The way that we're going to break down this presentation is I'm going to go over, here in a couple minutes, I'm going to do a demo and show you, what is basically free in our software. So this is creating your storefront, managing suppliers and partners and buyers, etc. And then I'll hand that over to Will that goes over what the kind of premium managing your supply chain in Sustainment actually looks like. And that's what's really our paid commercial product. So where we're at today, we currently have thousands of manufacturers who are registered for the platform, and that number is increasing literally every single day. We get Slack notifications when new company joins, and it's not uncommon to have 3, 4, or 5 new manufacturers that are signing up every day. We also have official partnerships with 11 state manufacturing extension partnerships, obviously including Ohio, but also California, Texas, Indiana, really some of the largest manufacturing states. And then also importantly, like I mentioned, we have large and medium-sized manufacturers who are paying customers for a commercial product, and we're working with them to grow, organize, and manage their supply chains. And that's what Will's going to go over. So really, what started out as this network that we continue to grow has matured into a way to not only find suppliers but also this entire supplier relationship management tool. So at its core, we're this network of highly engaged manufacturers who are posting projects, who are working with partners, with their suppliers, with their buyers. But we're also kind of this connective tissue between manufacturers, which, as you guys know, is really the connective tissue of this nation. I want to be clear that what we're not is a marketplace, like some other manufacturing software out there. We have no intention of getting between you and your suppliers or you and your customers. This industry is very much a relationship-based business, and that's the way that we want it to stay. We just want to enhance those relationships and help you build new ones. Then going over, who Sustainment's for, and the answer really is every manufacturer, from OEMs all the way down to small machine shops, from aerospace and defense to food and beverage and everything in between. So we've opened up our processes, and we'll go over what that looks like in the software, but really want to ensure that we're providing value for everyone in the manufacturing industry. Just one example, we have a bakery in California that bakes 200 loaves of bread a day, and obviously with SIFT in Ohio, I know that food and beverage manufacturing is big in Ohio. So this is kind of the direction we're going with a holistic approach to manufacturing. The only other things that I want to talk about before I jump into the demo is that we've got a large and growing development team. They're releasing updates every 2 weeks. So if you log in and things look a little bit different, hopefully better, don't be surprised. But we're always working on enhancements. This is from line item functionality. We recently broke out sourcing and procurement. We've got some really exciting AI functionality that allows you to upload POs and pull dates and costs and everything into that tool. From that tool, so you no longer have to key in those entries. So we incorporate customer feedback all the time. So if there's something that you would like to see in the platform, please let us know. And our team's very receptive and executes very quickly. I one example of user feedback that we've incorporated is not everybody's on the platform yet, so we now allow you to send messages to your suppliers or to your customers. That becomes an email, and then when they email you back, that comes directly back in the system, so you can be in the system, but that supplier who might not yet be on Sustainment can just email you the same way that they would. So there's some really cool technological advancements that we've made just to make your lives a little bit easier. I think so. We'll go over the SRM functionality, but my sincere hope is that every manufacturer is either already on Sustainment in the Ohio Manufacturing Network or creates a profile today for free. You can check out the software, talk to Will, see if the SRM tool makes sense for you. But really, there's no downside in creating a profile. You can be discovered by manufacturers who are looking for suppliers. And you can also, as we get more and more defense work on the platform, make yourself, really available for that. So with that intro, let me share my screen and we're going to kind of jump into what the tool looks like. Yeah, see my screen? All right, terrific. So, um, when you create your profile, it takes about 3 minutes to create a bare bones profile, and after that, I think really if you spend 15 or 20 minutes putting in all your processes, putting in photos of your work, etc., that's really when you're going to start getting the most value out. Put a company logo in, etc. That's really when you're going to get the most value. But it's very simple, very easy to set up, and we have a customer care team that's more than willing to help you, do that as well. So after you register, after you log in, you get to our homepage here, and this is really our communications tab. And I would say that the communication is really central to our platform. So this is communications around specific projects, and you can see who's on that project team. You can add or remove people here. Then there's also company to company chat here, and a whole host of different functionality here, Teams messages, etc. So this allows you to connect and really have all of your communications in one place, so you're not having to search through emails for when was the last time that I talked to Trevor's Turning or Bryant Fabrication. So we've gotten a lot of great feedback that this simplifies our sourcing and procurement agents' lives. Then just quickly, I'm going to go up here on the resources tab. Our company's based down here in Austin, Texas. So these are all Texas manufacturing support groups. But when you in Ohio, when you click resources, you'll see the Ohio MEP and other kind of related manufacturers in your region that are there to help and support you. And I've got connections here. So these are all the companies that we're connected with. And as you connect with and interact with other companies, you'll see this list. And we have our standard help menu. From here, I'm just going to click onto one of our manufacturers that we have here. This is a manufacturer here in Katy, Texas. There's a couple important things to see here. So, the first thing here, obviously, they've put in their logo, a description. This entire description is searchable. So if you have, anything specific that you do with materials or processes, you can certainly put that here in the description. There's also a verified tab here, which means that the Texas MEP has gone out on site and visited and confirmed that everything in this profile is valid and up to date. And this is a program that we're actually working with the Ohio MEP to roll out here in the next couple of months. So more to come on that, but very excited about getting that program going in Ohio. Just generic company info here around email, website, etc. We've got materials, documentation, so marketing brochures, etc. And this really, allows you to be discovered and, put your best foot forward in front of existing and potential customers. There's additional company details down here, to provide more information to the network. Then I want to go over here to the supplier record. And this is feedback that we got from customers where, it's great to have the public facing profile, but everybody has tribal knowledge. Everybody has notes about manufacturers that, they're either storing on, sticky notes on their desks or in, Word documents on their computers. And they wanted a way to pull all that information here into Sustainment. So you can add additional compliance notes here. You can edit the description. You can add supplier processes that maybe that they do that they haven't put on their profile. And then really, you can add an NDA here, and we'll talk a little bit about NDA management later as well. But then down here, you can provide notes. And this could be as simple as, hey, Jim goes fishing Thursdays afternoon. He's not available then, or, our contact at this company is Cheryl. So, a million different things you can do here. What we've seen is, we've had experienced employees that kind of have all that tribal knowledge, in their head. go in, put those notes in, and that helps, more junior members of the sourcing and procurement team kind of catch up and learn about that company and that specific relationship. So really a cool tool here. I'm going to bounce over here to the suppliers tab. We'll take a look at the supplier list. Just one example here. I've organized all of the MEPs that are on the platform, so you can see all 25 MEPs that we work with currently. But we've also I've got one here for all of our verified suppliers across California and Texas and Colorado, etc. And then as we add Ohio companies, they'll join this list. We've got a thing for veteran owned here. We've broken out other manufacturers by process. So, these are specific additive manufacturers, companies that do, galvanizing. So there's a million different ways that you can organize your suppliers, whether that's by geographical location, inside Ohio or outside of Ohio, however you want to organize your suppliers, you can do that. The only other thing that I want to mention on suppliers is that we are a platform for domestic manufacturers. So we only allow U.S. manufacturers to be visible to the network. However, we are aware that there are companies. We work with one paid customer in Arizona. They have 7 suppliers. 6 of them are U.S. based, and one's based in Taiwan. And that part they said is really only made in Taiwan right now. So what we allow you to do, you can still add that Taiwanese manufacturer so that you can manage your entire supply chain in the tool. However, that foreign manufacturer is hidden from the rest of the network, and that way they're not going to be discovered by anybody else who might be looking for that tool, etc. And then what we eventually want to do is look at those processes and look at those parts, etc., that are being outsourced, and then be able to provide recommendations of people who we know that are on our platform who can do that tool. And we really look at that as an exciting way to reshore and make American manufacturing what it used to be, kind of what Aaron was talking about it in his intro. We've got some really exciting stuff with the parts library and analytics, and I think that kind of falls into what Will's going to talk about. So with that, Will, let me hand over to you, and we'll jump kind of into the supplier relationship stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Do we want to, are we saving questions for the end there?
I want this to be as much of a conversation as we can make it. It's Wednesday morning, or I think it's Wednesday. I don't want people. I'm 2 cups of coffee in already, so I don't want to talk at people. So yeah, if you have any questions for me, shout them out, or during Will's presentation, please feel free just to ask.
For sure. Thanks, Chris. Are folks able to see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's great to be talking to you this morning. I appreciate the collaboration with the Ohio MEP team. And as Chris mentioned, and Aaron touched on as well, we fundamentally believe that there's a generational shift happening right now in the global economy in terms of reshoring. And of course, that's impacting the United States as well. And so sort of the broader theme with these capabilities that I'm going to show you here for this side of the Sustainment platform is being able to ensure that folks are able to embrace this generational shift. We really believe that, it's happening, and those organizations that are able to embrace this are going to be successful, maybe more successful than they've ever been. And those folks that aren't able to get on board are going to struggle. And so as a company, as a platform, our goal is to ensure that domestic manufacturers, and in this case, in the great state of Ohio, that you all have the ability to be successful as the economy continues to evolve very, very rapidly. So with that being said, I'm going to take you through what we refer to as the buyer side of the platform. So Chris walked you through what it looks like as a supplier, where you're offering your services and connecting to potential customers. What I'm going to walk you through is sort of the other side of the table, where you are able to go to market with sourcing events, RFQs, and then actually award those projects and go through the actual procurement purchase order process, ensure that those goods and services are delivered, so on and so forth. And so what we'll do is we'll start kind of in the same place that Chris started, which is on the homepage here. And keep in mind that this platform is really designed for communication. It's about that network, both on the supplier side and the buyer side. And so communication, ease of communication is going to be kind of a key theme as we go through this. And as Chris mentioned, here on the homepage here on the buyer side, you have the ability to communicate directly with your suppliers. In this case, we're looking at some information that's been shared with this supplier, Bryant Fabrication, regarding them winning a bid on a project here. And we'll get into kind of what's feeding that in a moment. They have the ability to come in and respond. If there's any updates to a particular project, procurement or sourcing project, that can be communicated directly to all the team members, both internally and externally. And so if you think about how you're doing this today, most of our clients, most organizations are sort of handling this kind of in a hodgepodge of maybe different technologies, or for the most part, predominantly folks are using email to communicate. And so when you're going through a sourcing project, you end up having a ton of emails that are disconnected. Folks internally aren't necessarily on the same page. Folks externally at the suppliers that you're working with aren't necessarily on the same page. And so what we're trying to do is just make it easier for you to streamline all of those communications, keep all your documents in a single location. So that way everybody's on the same page when you're going through these sourcing activities. And ultimately, what we want to do is ensure that you have very, very solid relationships with your supply chain, with your supply base. So that way you can collaborate with them, you can innovate with them. If they're having problems, and we'll get into that in a second, you can go to them and try to rebuild those relationships and improve where they may be struggling. And so that's sort of undergirding the entire platform, is that communication aspect. But we'll walk through a sourcing event here. So I'm gonna click on one that's already in progress as an example. I'm gonna toggle off of my projects, and so I can see all the projects that are currently in process across the company. And these are sourcing events, so basically RFQ events. And I'm just gonna open one of these up here, and we can see kind of what's going on with this project. So the nice thing is all of your sourcing events, all of your procurement events, your POs, they can all be found in a single repository, in a single location. You don't have to go into SharePoint or into somebody's Excel or into somebody's email to sort of find out what's happening. All of that is presented to the entire organization, and whoever needs to be involved can see the status of these projects in real time. So in this case, we have a tooling project going on here. I can set the quote due date, and in this case, it's due in March. The visibility is private, so this is only being shown to those suppliers that I have invited. And I can see the status of this project as well. So in this case, I can see who are the suppliers that are responding to this, that are shortlisted. A few of these, they've messaged us and they say, hey, we're attending the quote. The quote's not there yet. One of them has said, hey, we're not going to quote. So this is, again, sort of the other side of what Chris showed you when interacting with the buyers as opposed to the suppliers. In a couple of these cases, we've actually received the quote. So just for the purposes of this demo, even though this quote due date isn't for another month or so, we're still going to go ahead and we can award the project here. You'll notice that there's a couple of parts that are attached to this. I'll get into the part list in a little bit more detail. I can see all the information about the project here as well, and then I can see who's on the project team, as well as the files that are involved. So these would actually be made available to the suppliers. So again, instead of trying to send out individual emails to all the suppliers with the specs and the drawings for the parts that you're looking to source, that would also all of that would just be available in the Sustainment platform, and they can go in and they can pull that down and respond to the parts of this that makes most sense for them and for their business. So in this case, we're just going to go ahead and award this project. So what I would do is I can do a contingent award, or I can go ahead and create an actual procurement project. So once you close out and award the sourcing event, you upload the PO, input the delivery date, input the amount, select the supplier, and then you can actually send an automated email as well, letting them know that they've been awarded. And then what's also nice is you can send an automated email to those folks who weren't selected, just sort of keeping them in the loop, keeping that relationship alive, and letting them know, hey, you guys didn't win this business, but we want to continue the relationship with you instead of sort of leaving them in the lurch. So instead of going through that, I'm just going to pull up a procurement project here. So what would happen is I would put that in. In this case, we'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and upload a new project here. So I'm going to go ahead and create a project.
We do have a question in the chat. The question is, can the suppliers see other suppliers who are quoting, or is this view just for the client?
That's a great question. Yeah. So this is just client view. So you're not gonna be able to see the other suppliers that are bidding on the business. That's a really good question. And that's something I should have called out. And so we'll get into the that's a really good point. So on that topic, I'm going to go into the supplier list as well that Chris already touched on, but I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail because of that excellent question. So if I go to the supplier list here, and let's say let's go to approved suppliers. We'll go to Bryant Manufacturing. So first of all, it'll give me information about this particular supplier, what are their processes, what registrations, certifications do they have, what industries do they service. But then we'll get some internal information as well. So this is not public information. These are internal supplier ratings, internal performance metrics, internal spend with this particular supplier. So if I open this up, I can see some of this, generally available information that is sort of their storefront, as Chris pointed out. But then if you look up here, because this is the buyer view, the information stored on a record is private. So only members of your organization are going to be able to see that particular information, whereas Chris was showing us the public profile side of this. So very good question. And that is consistent when you're going through a sourcing and a procurement event as well, where the public information will be publicly available, but not all the suppliers, your competitors, are not going to be able to see what you're bidding on, what you're not bidding on, et cetera. One of the advantages to this, we are an SRM, we're a supplier relationship management platform at the end of the day. So we do have very robust sourcing and procurement PO capabilities. But kind of the core of this, again, is the relationship that you're able to build with your supply chain, ensure that it's agile, that you can adjust as needed, that you can innovate with your supply chain and the suppliers within your supply chain. So I really like these node features. So this is just an example, right? So if we go up here, we can see that, they're typically on budget, but they have trouble with on-time deliveries. So I can go down and I want to look at the notes here. Like, do I want to include them in a sourcing project? Well, according to this, the quality is solid, but they're having on-time delivery issues. So is that something that I want to work with? Is that something that maybe we want to pass up if timing's a big issue? Is that more important than quality? So all these different factors that go into decision-making that, as Chris mentioned, typically reside within, folks' heads or within folks' emails or their own private notes. All that information can be shared with your organization. So the engineers can go in and communicate with the sourcing team and with the procurement team, and everybody can be aligned. Some people have different views of a supplier. Some people may really like a supplier. Other people in your organization may not. And so this is the way to sort of reconcile all of those different views and really get a single line of communication going back to the supplier so that they understand where do they have to improve, where are they doing well. So in this case, they have high quality, but they have on-time delivery issues. So one thing that may want to suggest in this case is, hey, they're innovative. We want to continue working with them, but they're struggling with OTD. Why don't we go over to their shop or go over to their plant and try and figure out what's causing those sort of underlying on-time delivery issues and let them know, hey, we want to continue working with you. You have great products, but you need to kind of get it together on the logistics side of things. So that's just an example of how you might be able to leverage your internal information about a supplier record to improve your relationship with them. Great question. So we'll pop back into procurement. So sorry to jump around, but remember we had just gone through a sourcing event, and I should say for the sourcing event, when you add the suppliers, they will automatically be emailed. So they don't have to be in the platform. Obviously, we prefer them to be, we encourage them to be, but by no means do they have to be in the Sustainment platform in order to be included. The nice thing about this is that they'll receive all of this information via email. So if you leave a message, if there's an update, as I showed you before, to a PO or to timing on a sourcing event, that will be automatically communicated to the supplier via email. So they don't have to log into the Sustainment platform necessarily. They'll just get a note in their inbox, hey, Sustainment, in this case, we're running a sourcing project and we've updated the PO requirements or we've updated the timeline. That'll go right into their email and they'll be able to respond right from their email as well. So it's very convenient in that sense also. And I'm kind of rushing through here, but I want to cover as much as possible. So let's get back into procurement. So we've awarded the project to a particular vendor. In this case, I just want to show you some of the cool functionality that we have. So this is new. As Chris mentioned, we are continuing to innovate with the Department of Defense, with the Air Force, with the Defense Logistics Agency. And as you can imagine, they do a lot of pretty cool stuff that we're working on with them. Some of that is around AI. And to give you a little bit of preview of where that's going. So I can't show you this part yet. I'll show you this, but I can't show you another part. What I'm about to describe is something that we're working on without going into too much detail, but basically it allows manufacturers to upload a schematic or a drawing, a 2D drawing of a part, and then our software will actually go through, read that part, determine what are the materials, and then also, who can source these materials, who can we source them from, and the system will actually recommend who we should be potentially sourcing those materials from. So it's pretty cool stuff. Again, it's not available commercially yet. So maybe we can set up another session in a few months when that becomes available to walk through. But from an AI perspective, we do have some capabilities around a PO, for example. So if I receive a PO from a vendor, or let's say I get a PO out of my ERP system, I want to upload that into Sustainment, I can go ahead and just select the PO. I can upload it, and the system will actually go through and process and read the PO, and it will populate that information automatically. So we'll give that a second to work. And while we do that, we can look at some of the analytics that we have. I also do just want to pause and see if there's any additional questions. It looks like there may be some in the chat, or is that the only one?
That's the only one so far.
Okay. Okay, so that didn't take long at all. So this one's ready to edit. So I just uploaded this this PO into Sustainment, and the system automatically read the PO using our AI technology. And what it's going to do is it's going to pull out and populate all of the different data from this particular purchase order. So it'll pull in the PO number, it'll pull in the issue date, the delivery date, the amounts, who's the supplier, any notes on the PO, and then it also will, by line item, pull out the different lines that they're submitting the PO for and that they're providing for you. So it'll give you the part number, it'll read the part description. If there's multiple revisions, it will note that, unit cost, line total, estimated delivery date, so on and so forth. So I didn't type any of that in. All of that was just kind of sucked off of the PO. So pretty cool operational savings, time savings, and accuracy that are available from that new technology that we just rolled out, which is pretty cool. One thing that I didn't show you yet was the parts library. So Chris kind of alluded to this. So we actually have the ability to store your parts within Sustainment, and then you can kick off a source project from that. So let's say I want to do something around this particular steel fastener. I can create either a sourcing project where I want to go to market, or if I'm just going to go with the previous supplier, in this case, Bryant Fabrication, I can kick off a procurement event and ask them for a PO. So if I'm creating a sourcing project, this is kind of what it looks like here. Do I want to get quotes from existing suppliers? Do I want to go to market if I'm looking for a hard to source part? And again, as a supplier on the other side of the platform, if I go to market with that event, you'd be able to bid on that public event, enter the project details, and we'll also automatically include the file for the particular part that you're sourcing as well. The last thing I wanted to show you here was just a little bit of our analytics. This continues to be built out. It will continue to get more and more robust, and that's kind of a key piece of the platform, as well as this network continues to build, as we start to get more and more data, the data that's going to be available to our customers is going to increase as well. So you can understand, how much business am I doing with particular types of vendors, particular types of suppliers. I can filter by my approved suppliers. We can also look at procurement metrics. So this is more operational type of procurement reporting. So how much am I spending with a particular supplier? What's the average rating? What's the average on time? So on and so forth. And I can quickly get an idea of how my particular suppliers are performing. So I'll pause there.
We got a really good question about ERPs. You want to take that one, Will?
Sure. So how do you envision how the system works in an ERP with customer vendor inventory control are replaced? Does it integrate or complement? Yeah. So really good question from Colin there. As of today, we don't have any existing formal integrations with ERP systems. We do have the ability to build out custom integrations if that's something that we mutually decide with the customer is the right thing to do. There's a few reasons for that. So one is we service a lot of kind of mid-market size organizations, and there's a large variety of ERPs that are at work. It's not like everybody's running SAP or everybody's running Oracle. There's a lot of sort of niche type of ERPs that are in place. So rather than sort of pre-building integrations, we've decided to take the approach of let's take them kind of one by one. And if it makes sense in your particular case, we'll integrate with your ERP and be able to pull that data out. Do we replace an ERP? No. So we don't do sort of that underlying transactional type of work that an ERP would do. We're not doing any of the payment that an ERP would do. We do have the capabilities, again, to sort of pull those POs that are created. We're not going to be creating POs in Sustainment. We're not doing any of the kind of WMS, warehouse management functionality that a PO would do, or kind of the financial activity that an ERP would do, or any of the financial activity that an ERP would do. So we're complementary. Most ERPs were not built for sourcing and procurement and SRM, supplier relationship management, which is why folks who are running ERPs are typically doing that. If they're doing SRM at all, they're doing it kind of manually, offline, in Excel, in email. And so we sort of replace everything that you're not doing in your ERP. For some ERPs, for some companies that are using ERP for sourcing or for the PO or for SRM, usually that functionality is pretty minimal. And relative to the investment that you make in an ERP, the investment in Sustainment is quite small. It's typically a small fraction of what you would invest in an ERP. So that's kind of a long-winded way of saying, no, we don't replace an ERP. Most of the functionality is not being replaced, but it's more of an extension of what you're already doing with your ERP. So hopefully that's helpful, and we can get into more detail if we want.
Well, Aaron Patrick, so to Colin's question, he's mentioning customer vendor inventory control. So just focusing on the vendor, that supplier, that list of suppliers that Colin's company works with. What about like long-term forecasting? You kind of already alluded to issuance of purchase orders. Those aren't things. This is really more of the monitoring, the relationship, and the opportunity standpoint that you're presenting here, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So okay. It's not, I would not consider Sustainment, I think Chris would agree on this. We're not like a transactional type of platform. We can be, ideally you're running all of your sourcing events through Sustainment, and you're bringing those POs that you're issuing from your ERP into the Sustainment, and that's where you're kind of, as you said, Aaron, monitoring what's happening. But like we're not replacing an ERP as the version of truth when it comes to your spend or anything like that. It's more from a supplier relationship management, enabling you to understand who's in your supply base, how are they performing, what other suppliers are available, communicate them with them extremely easily. But at the end of the day, your ERP system is still going to be like your transactional transactional record or source of truth. This is more from like a business interaction, everyday kind of sourcing activity type of standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. The way that I look at this, and the majority of our customers also have ERPs because they're in that, that medium to large size manufacturers. I look at, CRM for the sales team. I look at the ERP for kind of the, accounting, finance, some operations folks. This software specifically for sourcing and procurement professionals, and this is a space that, I think has been underrepresented. So this is, for if you have a sourcing and procurement team, this is great because they can all communicate. If you have one person, this allows them to get organized. And what we've also seen clients is they, maybe they want 1.5 sourcing procurement professionals, and this can kind of be that extra half. So like Will said, it compared to cost of an ERP or really any other enterprise software, very reasonable. So we've seen a lot of our customers that rather than hiring a new employee, they'll if they have 2, this is the 2.5 until they get to 3, and really allows them to keep all of their notes and their suppliers organized as they scale.
Yeah, that's a good point, Chris. And one thing I'll also add to that is from a compliance and an audit point of view, typically ERPs aren't going to contain that type of documentation, certifications, that sort of thing. I didn't really touch on this in detail during the demo, but like I think Chris mentioned this. You have the ability to, if I go to our supplier list here, you have the ability to keep those registrations, understand what the dates of those registrations are, when they're expiring, and also all the changes that are made, the communication with the suppliers, that's all auditable. Like that's all on the record. So if you need to go back and you're getting audited, you're doing an internal audit, whatever the case may be, all of that documentation is available in a single place, in a single location, as opposed to living in a SharePoint or an email or Excel. So that's another advantage that you have. Some of those non-transactional type of details that are pertinent to an audit and to compliance that aren't going to be existing in your ERP system, those can be stored in Sustainment as well. Any other questions that we can help with?
Chris and Will, could you talk a little bit about, you've mentioned some of the fee structure, but we've marketed this and it is a free platform. Can you sort of talk about, and I can give let me start by saying, as the state is supporting this platform and has chosen to build an Ohio-based manufacturing community with this platform, all the connecting and all of the identifying opportunities, all of the work that you would do to connect with suppliers and for suppliers to connect with folks who need the products you're making, that this is a free platform for that. This is the relationship building piece that they've both Will and Chris have emphasized is really, I think, part of what the state wants to do, is to create these relationships and to build strength in Ohio's supply chain, but also to give you exposure to national opportunities. And Sustainment is a preferred partner of the Department of Defense and a number of other government agencies. So it will really open those doors. But Chris and Will, could you talk a little bit about where the fee structure begins? Because I want to be sure that folks understand. I don't want you to feel like there's any kind of a bait and switch where we're saying it's a free platform versus there are some fee related functionalities. And I just want to clarify that for folks.
Yep, absolutely. And that's a great question. So, I hope today all the manufacturers on the call, I put the link to the Ohio Manufacturing Network in the chat. If you, click there, join now and log in for the platform, that's completely free. You are, once you create your profile, that you can see if there's any open opportunities on our community board, and this is where Ohio and national manufacturers would find you. We've had a small machine shop in Wyoming, find work from Texas manufacturers. We've had Texas manufacturers, work within the state, but also with Arizona manufacturers. So, we've had a lot of success matching customers and suppliers on the platform. So everything that I went over, with the NDA management, with the certifications, with your personal profile, doing those connections, that's completely free. Where you and we also allow you to run a sourcing or procurement project, a couple of those at a time, still in that free realm. Really, when you start paying is when you start fully managing your supply chain in the tool, when you're running several concurrent sourcing and procurement projects at the same time, and really when sustainment becomes a part of your daily life. Will, do you want to talk just a little bit about how the fee structure works, and kind of how we bucket companies?
Yeah, for sure. So as Chris mentioned, right? So we're primarily we're a public benefit corporation. So what that means is we're trying to put together this network, that we've sort of been discussing, that undergirds all of this. Having said that, we also offer this SRM functionality. So the way that we price this is today is pretty much based on a couple of factors. So one is suppliers, number of suppliers that you're working with, and the other is the number of sourcing projects that you're typically running. If you're a really, really small company, like mom and pop manufacturer, typically, let's say less than $10 million in revenue, and that's not like a hard number, um, we're going to offer you the full functionality at no charge. Um, if you're more of a mid-market commercial type of manufacturing company, like if you're running an ERP system, for sure, if you have over $10 million in turnover a year, that's going to become, again, on the buyer side, the SRM capability that I walked through, that's going to become a subscription or paid engagement. And again, that's based on a couple of different factors, but primarily how much activity do you have within the platform, how many sourcing events are you running, and how many suppliers do you have within your supply base.
Yeah, so we'll, if you're specifically interested in the SRM, you can talk to Will one-on-one. He can understand your needs, and we'll provide a custom quote for anybody who's interested. For everybody else, joining is completely free. There's you're not going to get there's no credit card information that you enter, etc. Like, this is truly free, for your use. And there's also a lot of manufacturers that are kind of in the middle of the supply chain that are both buyers and suppliers. And if you at that point, if you only want to use the supplier functionality, again, completely free. So we're working on building this network, for the nation, but also for our customers at the Department of Defense. So we benefit just by having additional manufacturers that are on the platform, that are communicating, they're sharing best practices, etc. So there's no barrier to entry to join whatsoever. There are some exciting supplier tools that you can use with no cost, with no cost in the future, and you can explore the platform completely for free. And then really, if and when you decide to get a specific demo tailored to your company, our sales team's more than willing to do that.
Thanks for that. Anybody else have any questions they want to either pop in the chat or come off mute and ask? While folks do that, I'll kind of wrap things up then. Chris said that he did put the link to, we do have an Ohio specific page where you can register as part of the Ohio network. And I will also, following this this webinar, send an email out to all attendees with that link, and then of course a link to the general website for Sustainment 2, if that's helpful. But really, the Ohio network is where we would want our Ohio folks to register through and, log in and claim your profile and kind of get moving. The more I think, again, as the Ohio MEP, our goal is to build this network of Ohio manufacturers so that we can strengthen supply chains. I mean, this is really something the state has committed to. So any other questions? I know Chris and Will, do you have any final words you want to share?
It's Ohio being the third most you know, the third largest manufacturing state in the country. Like it really punches outside of its weight class in manufacturing, and our partnership's incredibly important to us. It's been incredible to see the growth of the Ohio manufacturing network. It started with a couple, then dozens. I think now we're close to 100 manufacturers that are already part of the network. So we're excited to continue to grow that. We're here for any questions, for any support that you need, creating your profile, answering any questions, one-offs on the platform. We've got an entire dedicated customer care team. And then, like I said in my demo, as you guys are exploring the software, if there's functionality that you would like to see, we're more than happy to bring that to our product team and help incorporate that into the tool. So our software's only getting better. The company's growing, the networks are growing, and we're just really excited for the Ohio MEP and Ohio manufacturers to be a part of it.
I would echo that. Very well said, Chris. Yeah, we're looking forward to partnering with you and continuing to see the Ohio manufacturing community grow. So let us know how we can help.
Great, thank you. And I will add both of your emails to the email addresses for reach outs to the email I send out. And we are, as you probably know, recording this. So if there is someone in your operation who you think needs to see the recording or could benefit, maybe your supply chain person or some up the leadership scale, feel free to share this recording with them as well. So I'll send a link out to that. And with that, if nobody else has any questions, I want to thank Chris and Will for their time and their explanation. And of course, thanks to everybody who took the time to hop on. I really hope you found this beneficial and look forward to continuing to connect throughout the year. So take care, everybody,
Awesome.
and thank you.
Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.